Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you're joining. Welcome to Open Source Friday. I'm Andrea Griffiths, a La Colombia dev, and I am so excited to be here. We made it, friends. It's Friday. Welcome to Cyber Hack. Welcome to SoundSphere. Thank you for being here. Super excited for our guest today. We're like a bit rushed because I've been running around. We're hosting an AMA on Reddit right now. So if you're interested in what's happening in GitHub, after this stream, please go there and check it out. But for now, stay here with us. Today, our amazing guest is Ruth Cheesley. Is Ruth embodies what the essence of an open source maintainer is. She's been an open source advocate for over 20 years, has, you can imagine, 20 years plus experience in contributing and supporting various projects. And Ruth has played a key role on the community leadership of, I'm going to completely mispronounce this, so I'm just going to share the link. But Ruth has done amazing things for our community, including creating actually the women in open source, or helping create the women in open source community along her co-founder Lorna Jane. The community leadership technical team she served on is Joomla, and she's helped build a full service digital agency. Right now, Ruth is the project lead for Mautic and supports a community who maintains and helps the world's first open source marketing automation platform absolutely thrive. When Ruth is not busy doing all those things, she's spending time with her cats, training as a triathlete, and playing the flute, of course, based on the east of England. And today, Ruth's here to tell us a little bit about Mautic, the project, a bit about his journey from corporate ownership to independence, and then this amazing initiative that they have, which is actually called Open Source Friday, where they host events to encourage folks to bring contributions to the project. So I'm super excited to have Ruth here. And Ruth has the most amazing posters right behind you. How cool are
Oh,
those?
yeah, thanks to our amazing design contributors. It's definitely not me, I'm not a designer.
Well, welcome, Ruth. Thank you so much for being here this Friday. Um, you're based out of the UK.
That's right, yeah.
Amazing. And right now you are the project lead for Mautic. And
Yeah.
I feel like the accent is thick today, my friends. So Mautic, I will get it by the end. So super excited that you are open to being here and sharing with us. I wasn't very familiar with the project, and super interesting that there is an option for something that is such a um, I guess when you think of marketing platforms and most CRMs, you think of a paid service, something that you have to go,
Yeah.
fork out a license or pay a consultancy to do. So it's great that there is an open source project that does this. So would you tell us in your own words, what is the project and how did it get started?
Yeah, sure. So Mautic, as you mentioned, is an open source marketing automation platform. It's written in PHP based on the Symfony framework. And what it does basically is enable organizations who use Mautic to learn more about the people that they interact with and that they communicate with. And by learning more about them, being able to personalize the way that they communicate with them. That might be through email, or it could be via SMS, it could be through WhatsApp or Viber, it could be changing the content in emails or changing the content on the website based on what you know about your audience. So it's a super powerful platform. We were founded in 2014 by a man called DB Hurley, who created this open source project. He was really passionate about, like you said, the only options were very expensive proprietary tools. There was no open source tool, and so he released it under GPL version 3. He also created a SaaS company that was providing enterprise hosting basically alongside the open source project, which funded a lot of the development of the open source project. And that was acquired by Acquia in 2019. So we were incubated with Acquia since
Oh,
2019, and we spun out from them just over 2 years ago as an independent open source project. So we now have our own council, governance model, and everything like that. So it's been a journey. I was involved for pretty much from the very early days because I ran a digital agency and I used Mautic for my customers. And I started working for Mautic full time just over 5 years ago.
That's amazing. So you were a user of the project before you actually became involved. And then when you
Yeah,
became involved, you actually went through this journey of independence, which is fascinating, by the way. I'm going to share the link to this.
yeah.
You did an amazing, the organization did an amazing write up on that transition. And this is such an interesting topic to me, how you were able to accomplish that and continue to have a successful project and one that continues to thrive and it's got that new governance and the community is still super involved. Can I ask you a couple of questions about that before we dig into the project as well?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
okay?
for sure. I did a whole talk on this at FOSDEM and stuff, so if you just search for it, you'll find it. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Oh, amazing. Yes. No, well, I will 100% find that that talk at from FOSDEM as well. But I mean, I'm sure that at the time that this decision was made that you needed to like forge this path to independence, that did not come lightly. And so of the folks who were there, I guess, was it in 2019 that you started to establish your governance or
No, so well, in 2019, when we were incubated with Acquia, there was no governance
right?
model. So at that
Okay.
point, we created a governance model with Acquia, so they could help us to grow. They also had a say in how things were going because they were building a SaaS product on top of Mautic, so they wanted to make sure the community would grow and thrive and actually give us an immense amount of support. I mean, the person who was like the representative on our council is Dries Boutart, who's the mega man in Drupal, has immense amount of experience in open source. Webchick as well, who's well known in the Drupal community, really helped us to grow that community. But then when we spun out, so that was a couple of years later, we then had to make a governance model that did not have corporate ownership or control. So that was a whole interesting consultative process as well.
Fascinating. And I hope that for those of you who are involved with open source projects and maybe are this is a path that you're wanting to take, you done the work. So this is great. You can go back and see the nuisances of all that. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing a bit about that. Okay, so you were a user of the project and obviously you became involved with the project to the point where now you're the project lead. And I'm sure the community's changed a lot. You have a conference now. We're gonna get to the demo, friends, but we have to talk about all the fun stuff too.
Yeah.
You have a conference now that's community. It's a community conference. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And I think you're bringing us a present for our audience that we can share as
Yeah.
well.
So in 2020, we were all set to run our first conference in the States, and then COVID hit. So our first few conferences were online conferences. But then when we started to get back to being in person again, we decided to have one online conference a year and one in-person conference a year. And that's worked great, but it's a lot of effort for the community. So this year we're doing something different. We're having a one-day conference in London on the 3rd of November. And then we're having a community day, which is like a contribution day. And then on Thursday and Friday, there's going to be an online conference where we're going to have some reruns of the in-person conference, but also lots of talks and sessions from people from all over the world. So there's tracks in English, there's some sessions in German, there's some sessions in Portuguese as well in the online element. So it's like a week of Mautic basically. So that's happening this year in November, and there's a code as well that people can use to get some money off if you want to come and hear more about Mautic and you want to learn a bit more about what we do and have a nice few days.
Amazing. Okay, I'm gonna share the code. I've shared the conference website on the screen, but I'm gonna share the direct link that includes the code. The code is GitHub dash open source or dash OSF. So, friends, if you are in London or what a great excuse to go to London, wanna
Yeah.
travel to London,
I think we're
definitely.
like 2/3 capacity for London, so there's still some
Wow,
spaces. Online is you can join from anywhere in the world, obviously. So do
amazing,
come.
amazing, amazing. Okay, and this is just one of the things that you do to have the community be involved, and then could you tell me a little bit about the Open Source Friday initiative that you have?
Yeah, I mean, we were trying to think of a way that we could, because in our community, every single feature request, enhancement, bug fix, everything has to have two people manually review. We have automated tests and all that jazz, but we have two people who need to automate to actually review, and one person do a code review, and we have a big velocity of PRs that come through our project. So we're trying to find a way to actually centralize that effort and also help the organizations in our community make it possible for their team to contribute to Mautic. And what we heard from the organizations is actually Friday afternoons are usually quite a quiet time. So we said, okay, well, Open Source Friday, there's a whole website for that. Why don't we call it Open Source Friday? And we encourage agencies or anyone who uses Mautic to put some hours aside on Fridays to help with testing PRs, writing social media content, fixing bugs, helping each other with code reviews. And so we have a GitHub project board, and we also have a low and no code project board, which enables people to actually find sort of PR testing and bugs to fix in the project board, and also low and no code tasks to work on as well. And it works really well. People really, some weeks it's quieter than others, but people are there and they're helping each other out in the issue queues. People are helping by reviewing new contributors' PRs and giving them feedback. And it's given contributors and organizations a real focus.
That's amazing. I love that you have created that intentional opportunity for low code and no code contributions. That is so great.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find. Did you share one of the links where we can maybe send folks, or would it be the issues? I guess maybe.
Yeah, so
Brilliant.
I've shared the mau.tc/contribute. That gives you all the different ways you can contribute to Mautic. And also the low code link is the project board for tasks that are not code related. So if you are a technical writer, or if you are wanting to help with reviewing pull requests or writing content or creating designs for social media or for our conferences, there's all kinds of things there. Even community building things like helping us with launching our ambassador program.
Amazing. Okay, friends. So if you are interested in getting started in open source and you're looking for a project to contribute, but maybe you're not super confident in your technical chops to you're like just jump in right away to try and do a contribution with code. Like,
And
this is a
October
great entry
as well.
point. Yes, and it is October.
Hacktoberfest. We've got a whole
Yes.
team of people who are like sitting waiting to onboard new people. So it's definitely a great month to try and get involved in open source.
Amazing. I am so thrilled that you shared that with us, and I'm sharing it, friends. I'm sharing the chat, all the links, and for my folks that are joining via LinkedIn, I'm coming for you. I'm sorry, I gotta do this manually because I can't do it from our streaming platform. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So I saw a couple of questions in the audience earlier about, like basically the platform, like what wasn't a marketing automation platform or something like that. So if it's okay with you, like I'd love for you to share your screen and maybe you can take us through the project itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen. Oh, that's the wrong button.
And happy Hacktoberfest, y'all. What? It is
Yeah.
October. I think I've been in deep denial because we have a lot going on this month. I just look up, I'm like, oh yeah, it's October 3rd. So we got to get with the program. All right, let me share these links here. But what a great month for you to take the time. And for those of you who work at places where, Friday afternoons is slower, and hopefully, you can join us, watch the stream, and then go check out that board and see if you can actually get involved. All right. Beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and share your screen, Ruth. And
Awesome.
okay, now we can see it live. And what are we looking at?
Fabulous. So this is a demo instance, and what we're actually looking at is Mautic 7 beta. So even our community, unless they do testing, haven't seen some of these features. So you're like getting a sneak peek. We're releasing hopefully next week
Awesome.
our beta version. So this is the dashboard that you would end up on if you are using Mautic. And what we're seeing here is the number of contacts that have been created over time, the number of page visits, the number of submissions of forms. And as a marketer, you can configure this to show what's relevant for you, basically. Each user can have their own dashboard. So you might be thinking, well, how does a contact get into here? Basically, at some point, when you land on a website for a company, at that point, you're an anonymous visitor. They don't know who you are, but they know you've landed there. They can see you in the analytics if you've allowed the cookies. And we have the same with Mautic. So we have the concept of a known contact, which we called a lead or a contact. But we also have anonymous contacts. So the way this works is you can put some tracking code on your website behind the appropriate cookie consent and all that jazz, obviously. And when someone lands on your website, it comes into Mautic a bit like this. So you can see just a list of IP addresses. We don't know who they are, but we know the kind of things that they're interacting with. And so this is telling us the pages that they're going on. And there are some pages that we're interested in because we know if they access those pages, they're more likely to engage with us, or they're more likely to buy. They're on a journey towards buying. So we can add points for those actions. So they land on a page and we say, right, we want to add 20 engagement points because we know that this is a page that people are going to engage with us. And likewise, you can see sales readiness. They've landed on a pricing page and they're probably going to be interested in buying. So at the moment, this is all anonymous. So if I was to do this myself, so we have a landing page here for a newsletter. You have to excuse my creating of brand to show this demo. I mean, I've used some pretty corny images, but you know,
I love it.
Gotta get the job done.
I love it.
So at the moment, I'm an anonymous visitor, right? So if I go back here and I go to contacts, you can see me here. You can see my my local host address, and you can see that I've landed on this page. And then if I was to land on another page like webinar registration, for example, I'm opening this in. Oops, this is not a landing page. I'm opening this in an incognito tab because we don't want to track the administrator doing stuff. That could pollute our marketing data. So if I just open my landing page and open this one in an incognito, then when we go back to my contact, we will see more traffic here. So we can see the webinar. Yeah, so we're building a picture of what people are doing as they're going through our website. Now if I then, for example, was to where's it gone? Nope. If I was then to live demo.
No, that's all right. Of course, that's how we know it's real.
It's always the way, isn't it? If I was then to fill this in, so it's asking me for my first name and my email address, and it says, hey, thanks for subscribing to our newsletter. You can also take them to a page where you give more information and stuff. What happens then is I become a known contact. So you can see that it's put my name that I just get, just the first name because I didn't give any more. It's picked up an image related to my email address from Gravatar. You can override that, but that's what it's doing there. And then we're getting the information here. So it's telling us that they filled in this form. And it's also telling us that we've been added to a campaign, which is a double opt-in campaign. So what I'm going to do is just show you a bit about how this actually works, what actually happens when we build a landing page. Everything is done in a really nice drag and drop builder. We have templates here. Some of these come with Mautic, but this one is one I've installed from the community. And everything can be built using drag and drop. So we just double click in here, we can change our content. As a company, you can provide themes that are using your brand, so you make sure that everybody uses the right brand and the right communication style. And then this is just inserting a form that I've created. So it's very user-friendly. Marketers find it very easy to get started. And it enables you to very quickly build landing pages for whatever you need. It might be an advertising campaign. It might be that you want someone to download an ebook, things like that. So I've filled in that form and it then will kick off a campaign. And campaigns are like the engine of Mautic. They are how all the automation happens within the product. And the double opt-in one is here. So those of you who've signed up for newsletters, you're probably familiar with this, right? It gives you an email that says, hey, thanks for signing up. You need to go here and click to confirm. So that's what this is doing. So we've filled in the form. We're going to send them an email, and you can see that we can send it immediately, or we could say in an hour, or we could say only send this on weekdays. And the email looks something like this, just a very simple email with a click to confirm. And when I confirm this, it takes me to a subscription confirm page. So that's what the user is going to receive. And it's transactional. So Mautic can also differentiate between transactional emails that must go to the inbox and marketing emails that might well land in promotions. And based on that, we then say, have they landed on that confirmation page? If they have, we go straight down this path. And if they haven't, we wait for a couple of hours, and then we say, okay, if in 2 hours, if they haven't, we need to really send them a reminder, because they might have missed it, they might have not seen it. So this is allowing us to send a reminder 2 hours from the previous part. Like I said, we could choose to say between 9 and 5 on Monday to Friday, or just on weekends, whatever you wanted to do. And this is the same email, but just in the pre-header, there's like little eye emojis and say, did you miss this? Just to bring a bit more visual recognition. And then from this point, if they actually do then go to that page, we jump to the segment. So we don't have to repeat things, we can just jump to here. And this is a nice new feature that people won't have seen in Mautic, because it's coming in this release, where it shows you where it's jumping to. And if they don't do that within a day, we delete the contact. So, and then this one allows us to add them to a segment that's like a list that says, this is the newsletter list that everyone has done double opt-in. And then we take them out of this campaign so that they can rejoin it again if they were to remove themselves and resubscribe. So all of this is automated, and it happens without you having to do anything, basically. We have cron jobs that run in the background that actually run all of these things. So any questions so far? I'm just going to run those cron jobs so that you can see them.
That's amazing. I am just shocked at how much it does. I had no idea that you could do so much, and this is incredible value. I mean, even for your own personal website, for you to have a higher visibility and better touch points for your own people. So even if you're not a business, you could be using this.
Yeah, for sure. And so I'm using a local environment. We use DDev, which is an amazing open source project. If you haven't come across it before, it's amazing. This lets us have MailPit. So this is telling us the emails that are kind of going out of our system, because obviously I don't want to start spamming people. So this is showing us the emails that we will have sent. Please confirm your subscription. And then you would click here and it would show that you've confirmed, and then you would go through the next steps and you would get the next bits of information. So that makes sense to everyone so far, hopefully. That's one way we can use Mautic, and there's lots of others. Some of the other, have we got time? How are we doing for time, Andrea?
We're doing great. Yeah, no, we do have time. Thank you.
So if you're a business that's, for example, doing sales, sometimes you want to be able to alert your sales team when a contact gets to a certain level of engagement. So it might be that like they've been accessing your pricing page, they've been looking at your information, they've maybe started a trial with your product. What this is doing is that when they go into a list called highly engaged leads, so because of their behavior, they've got into this list. If they have a certain number of points in a type, so if their sales readiness points are greater than 50, which I'm taking to mean in this business, they're probably going to buy. We want to actually tell their account manager, you need to reach out to this person because they've been engaging and they are going to become, probably going to become a lead. So all we're going to do is notify the account manager, so the person who owns that contact, and we're going to send them a nice email to say, woohoo, here's a sales lead, and give them their information. Now, if you have a funky sales setup, what you could do there instead of sending an email is actually push it into your CRM with certain flags that would highlight it for your sales team. So this is great for a small business that it just needs to know which customers are getting to what point in the user journey. But you can also do it for really big enterprise scale as well. And on the no path, we've got if they're not quite at 50, well, have they actually got interest in our product? So have they been looking at our product page? Have they been interacting with those resources? If they have, then we'll add them to a segment that's going to send them emails nurturing them in the product, getting them more engaged, getting them more ready to buy. If they haven't, what we're going to do here is say, well, have they actually downloaded our infographic that tells them how amazing we are and whatever? If they have, then we're going to invite them to a webinar because that's what is relevant for them. If they've read that, the next step is the webinar. And if they haven't, we're going to send them a re-engagement campaign to say, hey, you should really look at our infographic. So it can also help your internal business mechanics as well as your external marketing. There's so many different ways you can use it within your organization to optimize your automation, both internally and externally, that enable you to really make a difference to the way you're communicating.
Amazing. And you're giving us an example of like for and this is great because now I understand how I get those emails that say, "Hey, we saw that you for
Yeah,
I
yeah,
bet you
yeah.
I'm a customer of some organization that uses Mautic, or they're
Mm,
paying a ton for a proprietary project, not knowing that there is an open source or a more reasonably option there,
mm,
where they tell you, like we noticed that you clicked in this, but you never did anything, or we noticed, and that
yeah,
for like an e-commerce point of view, yeah, makes sense for
yeah,
like businesses to have that to track like lead generation and the website
yeah,
analytics itself, the email engagement. But there are so many more industries that are using Matic now, right? Like I was
yeah,
looking through your case studies for like success, and you have nonprofits, you have educational
yeah.
institutions there, and even open source projects themselves, or I guess
Hmm.
software projects can use it to help also track adoption. So there are so
Yeah.
many things that you can do. Um, what is one of the use cases that you've seen that has been kind of surprising? And I'm sorry I interrupted the demo, but I just really wanted to ask.
No, no, that's fine. I mean, there's been some really interesting uses of Mautic. I think one of the ones that was very interesting was from one of our partners, where they were working with a company who provides agricultural stuff. So, like different kinds of, I don't really know the industry, but stuff in different types.
Things for
And
agriculture.
they, yeah, yeah, things for agriculture. And they needed, they wanted to be able to send personalised communications to those farmers, but only about the things that those farmers were interested in. And they wanted to have all the content in their content management system. And they wanted Mautic to then do all the hard work to like pull the right content out and push it out to the people automatically without anyone being involved. It would just sit there and do this on a weekly basis and send the emails out to the people based on their preferences. And that was integrated with Drupal. So that's one of the case studies. Inagro is the company and Dropsolid is the partner. That was a really interesting one. And there's also another case study on there with a German e-commerce company that have done amazing things in terms of cart abandonment and retail, and really driving. I think it's like six-figure profits from their work with Mautic. And there's one that used it as a HR company that were doing
Wow.
recruitment, and they're actually using Mautic in that. So it's so diverse. There's so diverse the kind of different projects that we hear about, and I get really excited when I hear people using it so innovatively to really drive massive change for those organisations, massive change. And at Mauticon, we'll actually be having our second Mautic Awards where we celebrate these projects that are doing amazing things as well. So
That's amazing. That is so great. Okay, I'm
yeah,
gonna share on the screen again the code, the actual conference, the multi-conf, and then the code
mm-hmm.
again. So folks, if you wanna go by and take a look and learn more about Mautic, that's amazing. Luan, I am coming with the repo. Let me share it with you on GitHub. And then I'm sorry, Ruth, was there another part of the demo? I just got excited
Uh,
and interrupted you.
I think we're getting a bit short of time, so that there's loads of stuff I could talk about. Yeah, if you wanted to move on to any other questions, I saw a question in the chat. Did you want me to answer that question from Belinda?
Yes, please. Thank you so much. Well, I
Yeah,
look for the link. And I think there was
it's
a
a really
question
good
about marketing
question.
emails. Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, can we send marketing emails without the newsletter prompt? If you have consent to send marketing emails, then you can send marketing emails. If you don't have consent to send marketing emails, then you should not send marketing emails, ultimately. So if you have received someone into your system through another system where they have clearly said that they consent to receiving marketing emails, then you can bring them into Mautic and send it without having the newsletter. But not if you, say, had one-to-one sales consent but not marketing consent. Then you would need to get their consent. It is just good practice the first time you email someone to just check you've got the right email address and that they want to hear from you anyway.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you end up with junk lists and then that hurts your deliverability. So
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. And most of that you can set up yourself when you're doing your outreach to do an opt-in. Yes, I want to hear
yeah.
from you. Yes, send me any offers. And
Mm-hmm.
then you're in business because then you can feed all of
Yeah.
this to Mautic and
Yeah.
get it
And
going.
some organizations have been super creative. We've got a case study on our website where an organization in, I think it's in Serbia, worked with a company that sell fitness and nutrition stuff, and they did like a scratch card thing, and they did
Oh,
a
fun.
scratch card, and with a bank they've done a thing where they had like a wheel spin to get like, you had different offers that were on. Like, those are great ways of actually getting that consent from the person to play something, and then you can talk serious about the fact, what you're actually trying to get them to take part of.
That's awesome. Gamifying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I've fallen for that a million times. It works. It works.
And
it works.
competitions, and we see landing pages used a lot for competitions. They can be used. The other thing to mention is that Mautic's landing pages, emails, everything can be translated and A/B tested as well. So you can like A/B test your email and send to the one that wins. You can have them in 5 different languages, and if the content's language, if the customer's language is Brazilian Portuguese, and you have a Brazilian Portuguese version, it will send that. And then everyone else who has English will send English, and if you've got German, it will send German. So that's all kind of baked in, which is really awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. And folks, this is something you can run yourself. Of course, Mautic, the company, like offers some levels of support, but this is an open source project. I've shared the repo. Please go by and leave a star on this repo today. And if you know a business, and what an incredible, powerful tool for like even small businesses, or all of you that are kicking off startups, all these vibe coded products that you got, you need to find a way to actually promote them. We have another question,
Yeah.
Ruth, I want to get to. Are dashboards accessible / user friendly for sellers and CSMs who want to know more about lead activity and engagement over time? And thank you, Belinda, for the question before, and thank you, Jackson, for this question.
Yeah, thanks, Jackson. Great question. So I'm not sure what you mean by accessible, as in people who have disabilities. If that's what you're asking, yes, we've got a whole new user interface in the last major version of Mautic, which is much better. It's not perfect, but it's much better, and we're working hard on that. In terms of user friendliness, you can build your own dashboard, you can build your own reports as well. Our reporting system, we know, needs a bit of TLC. It's kind of been built by developers, so it's great if you know how to work it, but it's kind of a bit clunky. But the dashboards, definitely, you can create a dashboard that shows you the stuff that you want to know about. And you can filter that by specific segments and what have you. You can get reports emailed to you, say on a weekly or monthly basis, with like contacts and what their point scores are, who are the top 10 whatevers. So yeah, we do hear that it's actually really helpful for sellers and customer service people. Particularly, like, you can also use workflows if you're in support or customer service. If people are landing on your danger pages, like how do I make a complaint, or like, like things are going wrong, or they're landing on pages that people land on when they aren't happy, you can also use that to say, we really need to escalate this account to the account manager, and you can shoot an email to them straight away and say this customer needs some attention. So you can also use it for that kind of thing as well.
Amazing. I mean, so much flexibility in what you can use it. That's incredible. So listen, if you are a project manager or a product lead, or you work in CSM, like customer success management, and you're watching this right now, like, bring this to your company and let them know there's a product that can make your life in terms of like customer retention, and an amazing tool to have visibility of. Wonderful.
And it's a great time as well to have those conversations, because organisations are really focusing on digital sovereignty, on making sure that they actually own their data, that they're getting away from being locked into vendors who don't allow you to have access to all of your data. So we're seeing a lot of people switching over to Mautic, and it's not, it's free as in the code's free, but you still got to host it, you still got to use it, you still got to support it. So, but when you compare that with the comparable costs for like HubSpot or big, tens of thousands of pounds are being saved, sometimes hundreds of thousands depending on the scale. As you mentioned, you can host it on your own infra. We have a managed Mautic service, which is hosted under a contract for 3 years with a provider, and they actually give 40% of all sales directly back to the open source community.
Fantastic.
So the managed hosting is great, but we also got partners. Like if you're in Germany and you want a German hosting provider, we have a German hosting provider in our community. So that it's really flexible. It's really flexible.
Amazing. I'm going to share those links because I see that in the Mautic.org website, there is a few links for the to become a sponsor of the project,
Mm-hmm.
but then as well as to become a supporter as a member or a partner. What does it mean to be a
Yeah.
member of Mautic?
Yeah, so when we created our new governance model, we wanted a way to actually encourage people to become actively involved in the project and have a say. So to become a member as an individual, a person, a human, it's $100 is our flat rate, but we use the Big Mac index. And if you go to mau.tc/big-mac, it will tell you how much that is in your country to down rate that based on your country. So if you go to the Mautic page that says membership, it will automatically say in the box how much it is for you in your country to be an individual member. And that means you get a vote in our elections. You get to vote who is going to be team leads, who's going to be on the council. You get to vote we have a community choice award. So all of the projects that are submitted for the Mautic Awards, there's one award which is only voted for by members. And yeah, you get a shiny badge. Some people like the shiny badge. But you also get
Amazing.
to obviously support the open source project. And from a company perspective, it starts at $1,200 a year. And our top tier at the moment is $30,000 a year. And that's the same. They get one vote in all of those things I just talked about as an organisation. So if they're an individual and an organisation, then they get one vote for each of those. And partners are like our elite of the elite. So partners are members who pay to be a member, who are also actively contributing on a consistent basis to the project. So they're giving their staff time, they're contributing through testing, they're contributing by helping with whatever they're doing in the project. So partners are like members who are also practically involved in the project. So that's our kind of 3-tier system. And you can also become an individual member through contribution. And we have an honorary member status, which is for people who've done amazing things, like our founder, and Dries Boytaert, who has supported us so much when we were with Acquia, and our first engineer, for example, they're honorary members.
Amazing. I'm going to share the Open Collective here as well so that folks can, if they're watching the project, they want to give it a go and, you know,
Yeah, you can just chuck
contribute.
money at us. That's amazing too.
Of course, of
uh,
course. This is incredible. Ruth, thank you so much for joining us this project.
you're welcome.
Um, you brought, and I know we're coming short on time, but I wanna ask about, especially because you are in the UK, right? So GDPR, there's a lot of things that go into campaigning and
Mm-hmm.
resources when you're doing marketing. Um, and I saw a bit on the site, and now, of course, I clicked away from it. Now I can about the compliance and all the work that you put into this. And so, if you could speak a bit
Yeah.
about that and why it's important for developers to even care about that, because eventually you want to scale your business to be worldwide, right? So even if it's not a concern for
Mm,
you now, better to be
yeah.
prepared.
Yeah, and I would say it's better to err on the side of caution and actually do things in the most conservative way possible than go, oh, it just doesn't matter, I'm never going to get caught. Because if you get caught, the fines are very large. So
Yes.
yeah, in terms of Mautic, so Mautic is used by everyone from small one-person business and entrepreneurs who are just starting out, right up to massive multi-million-pound organisations with franchises and whatever. So yeah, GDPR and CCPA and all of that is baked in. You do have to, you can set up all the systems to be compliant, but you as a marketer have to be doing marketing compliantly to actually comply. So we have, for example, cron jobs that clean out the data. They get rid of the data if it's no longer relevant to have that data there. We have lookup lists for the CCPA that are do not contact, and that makes sure that that happens. There's all kinds of stuff in our documentation about how you do that. So it's set up like that, but it's also the onus is on you, like we were saying earlier, to actually do the double opt-in campaign, to make sure you are cleaning your lists, and every 6 months or a year or whatever, you're contacting your contacts and saying, do you still want to hear from us? And actively, if they are not saying yes, then you remove them. And it does mean that your lists get smaller and your ego takes a bit of a dent every time you lose someone. But it also means that you're only contacting people who are happy to hear from you. So it's a two sides of the coin. Like the infrastructure is there and Mautic is compliant and it's got all the things it needs to be compliant. But you actually have to do your job properly for it
Yeah,
to
of
actually
course.
fully work.
Of course, but
Yeah.
it's great to know that the tool, these things are very much baked in, and you're setting
Yeah.
yourself up for success,
Yeah.
right? Still
And
doing
I
your
should
work.
also say, like someone just mentioned about internationalization and GDPR, like in some countries it's called something different. In some countries they do it differently. In Germany it's super, super strict. So like we have an international community. If you need to know how to do it in your country or in a particular country you have a client, people will have done it already. That's the great thing. And if they haven't, you can write a
Yes.
PR and say, this is how you have to do it in this country, and here's a cron job that cleans up or whatever. That's the beauty of open source. You don't have to wait for a big company to care enough. You could actually do it yourself if you wanted to, or pay someone to do it and contribute it. So
I love that. I love that. And it sounds like you have a super strong community. And,
yeah, yeah,
hey, if
yeah.
you want to be a part of it, check out all the events, go to the conference. I dropped the code with the discount. Thank you. What a generous discount as well. For all of you who are watching and might be in London and want to attend. And for those of you who are nowhere near London but still want to get involved with the project, there's also a project board with a good guide for first contributions. And there is a specific project board that Ruth shared with low and no code contributions that will be impactful to the project. So amazing. I am super excited. This sounds like a really great opportunity for folks that started. All right. So in closing, Ruth, I have to ask what's next for the project itself? What are things that you were so generous? You show us a sneak preview of something that folks have not seen at the beginning, and thank you for that. But is there anything in particular you're excited about the future of Mautic?
Yeah, I mean, the last two major releases, so Mautic 5 and 6, have had some massive user experience changes. The whole user interface has been overhauled. So we're kind of coming to the end of that with Mautic 7. We've also got some really great features. We received our first ever grant fund this year from NLNet. So we were funded to
Amazing.
create the ability to import and export campaigns and everything that goes with a campaign, so that you could move it to another instance or you could just copy it and import it again. And the phase 2 of that, we're fingers crossed, we're hoping we get funded for the phase 2, which is going to be creating a campaign library. So what this is going to be is like, when you're new to Mautic, it's really hard to know how to do a double opt-in properly, how to do a birthday campaign, how to do an abandoned cart recovery. What that will allow us to do is for you to have like a bit like an extension store, like WordPress extension store, where you can actually go search for the kind of thing you need to do as a marketer. You can look at the ones that are provided by core and also the ones that are provided by community, which may be free or may be paid. And then you can click and say, okay, that's the one I want. And if it's free, great, you just install it. If it needs particular plugins, it will tell you you need this plugin and that plugin to use this, and you can install those as well. So from my perspective, that's going to be a massive, massive improvement for the user, because it's the biggest hurdle that people face with using Mautic, is that they just don't know how to do automation effectively. So we're hoping that will come in the next major release, Mautic 8, providing it all gets funded within the next 10 to 12 months.
Amazing. I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff coming up in the roadmap then. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear from folks. I hope that if you've joined this stream today and you gave Mautic a go, you'll leave us a comment. You can leave us comments still on YouTube or on the LinkedIn post. And if you have any questions about the project itself, definitely visit that GitHub repo. Ruth, thank you so much. This was very interesting. I need to do this for my website. And start. I mean, we all have that one thing that we're like, I really want to start kicking off, like doing a
Yeah.
consultancy, doing things like that. I mean, it sounds like it could do all of this. And if the way to automate it, I don't even have to think about it. Like, I love it.
Yeah, I mean,
I
you
love
can
it. I
just
love it.
start by having a segment and a newsletter sign up form and getting people to join the segment and then sending out an email once a month. Like, that's the way to start at the basic level. And then you can
Yes.
start to do more funky things with it. So, yeah, it's
Yes.
great fun. Sorry if I've just added a whole new to-do list for you, but
I'm here for it because for one, it will be
yeah,
supporting open source, using an open source project, and then
yeah,
this is great. No, this is great. Thank you
yeah,
so much, Ruth. I appreciate your time today.
yeah.
For
You're
folks who want to
welcome.
connect with you, I will share your LinkedIn. I think it's the best way to connect with you. And
Yeah,
of
for
course,
sure. Yeah.
you can go to Ruth's website as well at ruthcheesley.co.uk and take a look
Mm-hmm.
at all the projects. I also will watch your FOSDEM. I want to go to FOSDEM next year, but I will watch your FOSDEM talk because I think The topic of governance is so interesting, especially now more than ever. I think there's so many
Yeah.
conversations around an open source. So I will 100%
Yeah.
go find it for you, friends, and I will drop it in the comments so
Yeah.
that you can watch it. We can watch
If
it
you go
together.
to speaking.ruthcheesley.co.uk, that's got all of my talks on there. So if you put speaking in front of my website URL. Yeah.
Brilliant. Perfect. Thank you so much, Ruth. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for showing us Mautic.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been really lovely. Thank you, Andrea.
All right. Well, friends, thank you for joining. And let's give Ruth a warm goodbye. And we'll see her next time. I hope you come back and show us some of the newer features, maybe in upcoming months. That'll be terrific. Thank you, Ruth. And for those of you who are still here with me, this is the last day the last 2 days for you to enter our GitHub Universe ticket giveaway. You can do that by going to gh.io/win. Go win the ticket so you can come hang out with me and we can talk about open source. All right. And please join our live stream on Monday. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, we are joining forces with the folks from Render ATL with an amazing announcement for the open source community. So I hope to see you Monday. Take the rest of the day off, go contribute to open source. Tell your boss I said you were off the rest of the day. This is why I'm not a manager. But I appreciate you all. Thank you for being here. Catch you next week. Next week, we're having a double feature, double Open Source Friday. We'll have the folks from Julia Lang and one more project. Its name escapes me, but you can find it on our open source repo. Thank you for being here.